Pearls from History presents the fourth episode of its series on Islamic history, titled The Battle of Badr. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, this is the story of a day when faith, courage, and divine help changed the course of history forever. The day when a small group of believers stood against an army 3 times their size and triumphed. This is the story of Badr. 2 years had passed since the Hijrah, the migration of Prophet Muhammad and his companions from Mecca to Medina. The Muslims had found a new home, but the Quraysh of Mecca could not tolerate their rise. Trade routes were the lifeblood of the Quraysh economy, and the Muslims began targeting these caravans, forcing Quraysh to face them sooner or later. It was in this climate that news spread. Abu Sufyan, leader of a large Quraysh caravan returning from Syria, was passing near Medina. Loaded with wealth and guarded only lightly, it was the perfect opportunity. Prophet Muhammad set out with about 313 companions, poorly equipped, sharing a handful of camels, armed with just a few swords and shields. They were not prepared for war. They intended only to intercept the caravan. But destiny had other plans. Abu Sufyan, ever cautious, got word of the Muslims' movement. He quickly rerouted his caravan along the coastal road, escaping the Muslims' path. But he also sent word to Mecca, exaggerating the threat. The Quraysh responded with fury. An army of 1,000 men with 600 armor-clad warriors, 100 horses, and dozens of camels set out under the command of Abu Jahl, the arch-enemy of Islam. The chiefs of Mecca, Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, Shayba ibn Rabi'ah, Walid ibn Utbah, and others, marched proudly, boasting of their inevitable victory. For them, it was not just about protecting trade. It was about crushing Islam once and for all. When news reached Prophet Muhammad that the Quraysh army was approaching, the situation turned grave. The Muslims had set out lightly equipped, but now they were faced with a full-scale battle. The Prophet gathered his companions and asked what they thought about advancing. It was a moment of testing. The Muhajirun, those who had migrated from Mecca, spoke of loyalty. But the Prophet wanted to hear from the Ansar, the helpers of Medina, since this was their land. Then Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, leader of the Ansar, stood up with firm conviction and said, "O Messenger of Allah, we have believed in you, we have pledged to support you. Go where Allah commands you, and we will follow. By Allah, if you were to march us into the sea, we would plunge into it with you." The decision was made. The Muslims would stand their ground at Badr. The two armies camped across from each other near the wells of Badr. The Quraysh were confident, with feasts and songs to boost their morale. The Muslims, outnumbered and outarmed, turned to Allah. That night, the Prophet spent hours in prayer, raising his hands, pleading, "O Allah, if this small band perishes today, you will not be worshipped on earth." Allah's promise descended in the Quran. "Remember when you called upon your Lord for help, and he answered, 'Indeed, I will reinforce you with 1,000 angels, one rank after another.'" Surah Al-Anfal 8:9. Peace fell upon the Muslims, and they slept with hearts at rest. At dawn, the armies faced each other. Before the battle, it was customary for champions to step forward. From the Quraysh came Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, his brother Shayba, and his son Walid. From the Muslims stepped forward 3 brave men: Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, the Lion of Allah; Ali ibn Abi Talib, young and fearless; and Ubaidah ibn al-Harith. The duels were fierce. Hamza struck down Shayba, Ali felled Walid, and though Ubaidah was wounded, the Muslims prevailed. The Quraysh were shaken. The battle had begun. The Quraysh surged forward with their might. The Muslims stood firm and rose, following the Prophet's command. "Do not rush. When they advance, repel them with your arrows." The air filled with arrows. The ground shook with the thunder of hooves. But the Muslims fought with unshakable resolve, remembering their oath. And unseen by human eyes, angels descended, strengthening the believers. The Quran reminds us, "It was not you who slew them, but Allah slew them. And it was not you who threw when you threw, but Allah threw." Surah Al-Anfal 8:17. The tide turned when the Quraysh leaders began to fall. Hamza, Ali, and other companions struck down key chiefs. Finally, the greatest enemy of Islam, Abu Jahl, was mortally wounded by 2 young Ansar, Mu'adh and Mu'awid, both barely in their teens. The Quraysh lines wavered. Panic spread. The once proud army broke, retreating in disarray. When the dust settled, 70 Quraysh were killed and another 70 captured. Among the dead were the most bitter enemies of Islam. The Muslims had lost only 14 brave souls, 6 Muhajirun and 8 Ansar. Their sacrifice became eternal honor. This was no ordinary victory. It was the first decisive battle in Islamic history, a sign that the Muslims were not weak and that Allah's support was with them. The Battle of Badr became known as Yawm al-Furqan, the Day of Criterion, when truth was distinguished from falsehood. From a small band of faithful to the defenders of a new faith, the Muslims of Badr showed that courage, conviction, and trust in Allah can overcome the greatest of odds. The Quran reminds us, and Allah had already given you victory at Badr while you were few in number. So fear Allah that you may be grateful. Surah Al-Imran 3:123. This was only the beginning. Greater trials and greater victories awaited. But Badr will forever remain a shining symbol of faith's triumph over fear. If you found this journey inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue with us through the unfolding story of Islamic history. Your support helps us bring these timeless lessons of faith and resilience to life. But the Quraysh would not rest. Their pride was shattered at Badr, and their thirst for revenge burned stronger than ever. In our next episode, we will witness the Battle of Uhud, a day of triumph, tragedy, and profound lessons for the believers.